Hello dear viewer, Zaidi boy here. Do make sure you visit my Twitter feed. By the way, I'm wearing the shirt I got on my profile picture that thousands upon thousands of people have paid homage to, in as much as they're having seen it. So, just done with our prayers here. This is the beautiful Omar Al-Khattab Mosque at Parliament in Dundas in downtown Toronto. So I visit mosques from time to time and have my fair share of fights with these guys too. If any of my atheist friends are actually watching this, guys, I'm on your side, trust me on that. I'm against religious bigotry too. I'm into spirituality. Seriously, that's the whole thing. And that's in fact the difference between atheism and agnosticism, which is what I wanted to talk about today. By the way, this sign over here, the exit sign, it reminds me of Salamun Alayki, sister. How you doing? Hope you don't mind being on YouTube briefly. So yeah, so basically, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. There's a beautiful verse in the Quran. So people say, you know, why should I be religious? You know, what's in it for me? Why should I be religious? Why should I bother? Right? Like, I'm happy enough without being religious. If you're happy without being religious, it means you're spiritual. And if you're not if you're happy without being religious, you are spiritual. And if you're not spiritual, you're not going to be happy. The Quran says very interesting things along the lines of well, if you what is this thing? You know, person who lives a good life, Ja'ala ar-Rahmanu lahu wudda, for example. God bestows them with love. Actually, wudda is a are you guys going to start behaving at any point of the day or not? So Ja'ala ar-Rahmanu lahum wudda, it simply means basically go border, go. Salamun alayki. So, okay, so this is Parliament. Oh my God. Sorry, but you're going to be on YouTube. I'm sorry. Privacy schmivacy. You're beautiful and you're out in public. Won't you wait for me, my princess? She's like, you bastard. My boyfriend will do you in. You might think that's not very religious or whatever, but that's my whole point. Guys, person who's bad, according to the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He makes their... Basically, He constricts their life. He constricts their path. He makes their affairs... Essentially, what it is... Hello? You want to wait for YouTube? You don't have to if you don't want to. It's completely optional, actually. People having fun, eh? I love that shit. You know what? The funny thing is, like, most people don't like other people having fun. I'm actually looking for a light right now. My bike's right here. And then we got to go to we, as in you. Uh-oh. Maybe it's the bastard I slagged off the other day. Oh, no, it's not. Guys, spirituality brings out your true personality. On the other hand, being evil, as in being not spiritual, turns you into a robot, basically. So you become fake, a fake person, all right? How you doing there, brother? You basically, you become fake. That's all it is. I mean, if you get that, you get that. So that's my whole new thing. I finally figured out. So it's like agnostic versus atheist. So the whole thing is like, basically, agnostic, okay, it doesn't matter. First of all, they're both labels and they're both equally stupid. And with all such labels, you could be Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, agnostic, atheist, I don't care. I mean, that's the whole thing. For an atheist, Assalamu alaikum. You guys are all going to be on YouTube. Yes. See how nice she was? Beautiful little spiritual sister, eh? I love this stuff. Anyway. So I do want to get on my bike, and so I'm going to put you here momentarily. I just hope this guy doesn't come outside and start fighting me. Hey man, that's my disgusting car. It's got like dirt and debris all over it, right? And he's probably gonna blame me for this scratch right here, eh? Like, people want to fight. Guys, you don't need religion to fight. People like fighting other people because people have egos. وَإِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّي. Right? So the Quran says that the soul is inclined to evil. Okay? The soul is inclined to evil. The ego, this rambling noise that goes on in your head. Like, people think I'm crazy because I talk so much. What I'm doing is, instead of... So I'm basically, first of all, what I'm trying not to let happen, guys, is I don't want this inner voice to internalize itself and therefore control me. And so I'm fighting that shit all the time. I'm just going to unlock my bike. The goddamn traffic, as soon as I start saying something useful and important, obviously Murphy's Law kicks into effect. Somebody explained it very well the other day. Somebody said, well, you know, Murphy's Law doesn't mean anything that can go wrong will go wrong. What it means is that anything that can happen will happen. It's a very, very, very interesting thing. So, guys, spirituality, you can be Buddhist and you can be an idiot. Or you can be agnostic and you can be a godly person. In my mind, godly equals spiritual is my whole thing. Now, the problem with atheism as it's defined and as it's actually expounded by some of these guys, is that, you know, they say you can't... This guy's car is so disgusting that I'm going to ramrod this Starbucks cup onto the this protruding antenna here. Alright, that's not going to work. So I'll just go like this. Why? Because this guy needs to clean his fucking car. You'll be like, who are you? And that's vandalism. It's not vandalism. I'm a security officer. I know very well what vandalism is. Vandalism is when you do something that basically... you know, it leaves a, oh my god, I just hate the traffic. I don't even know why I pulled out the goddamn camera. You know what? I'm not shouting my way through all this crap, eh? I think I've explained it sufficiently well. I mean, here's the last point in this whole thing. Being spiritual is the key. You can be atheist and still be spiritual. What does that mean? Hey, wave for YouTube, big guy. Hey, give me a wave, man. Oh, thank you. I was going to call him a jammy bastard. But that's the thing. You see, he went by saying cool, right? And so I gave him a wave. So, I got to get up to Broadway, and I'm not shouting all the way there just to try and explain something to like 42 people who come to this goddamn thing and watch it. Although that is enough. And by the way, on my last video, I actually had some atheist guy come on the video. It was actually a seminal moment for me now that I think about it. Just as I'm about to give up on these videos. Like, I've made 500 of them. Like, people become rich and famous after like 20 or 50 or 70. Right? And I'm talking they've got millions of viewers and all this kind of rubbish. I've been putting these goddamn things out for years. There must be something wrong with me. I guess for me it's just therapy at this point. And you know, reaching the odd person, like this beautiful atheist who came onto my channel, and he listened to what I had to say about atheism versus agnostic, and he said, guys, this was his comment. This is what he said. Guys, this guy is real, and he's right. Agnostic is a better term to define us, because what is agnostic? Agnostic, I come from a software background. I used to work for Oracle, let's say, and Computer Associates, and a bunch of lean and mean software companies. Hey, stop being such a brat. Your poor mother has been slaving day and night to take care of you, and you're still acting like you're 2 years old? Come on, don't be like that. You gotta tough it up. This world is very tough. Pat her on the head, huh? Pat her on the head. So basically what it is agnostic means that you're not interested in the question at hand, or that it does not pertain to you. Like, for instance, with software can run on Windows, software can run on... So you're too nice to this girl, eh? You spoil her way too much. So agnostic means that... Nice move, man. Nice goddamn move. Great driving, man. Great driving. And now he's going to get out the car and fight me. You never know. It happens to me all the time. I'm just having fun with the guy. And because people have egos, the ego essentially wants to perpetuate itself. And the ego is based on labels. The same kind of labels we're talking about. Like, hey, I'm a Muslim. I'm agnostic. I'm a Jew. I'm atheist. And it's like... people get caught up in their stereotypes and labels. How's it going, brother? Doing okay? So people get caught up in their labels, and the ego says, I'm so great. Like, so, once again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jal says in the Quran, Inna nafsa la'amaratun bisu. Like, the ego essentially will lead you towards evil. So, if you listen to this voice in your head, go get him, Copper! Yeah, whatever can happen will happen, right? So, oh my God, don't tell me that's a Slayer shirt. No, it's not a Slayer shirt. Bro, you're lucky that's not a fucking Slayer shirt. I would have come and hugged your ass and you'd have to beat me off. Nice shirt though. The guy's like, what? Hey, give me a light, bro. Bro, light. You got a light? Sorry, man. Sorry. I'm making a YouTube video. I'm just being a fucking asshole as usual. Thank you, man. You're like, see, God sent you around. I believe in God.
No worries, no worries.
Thank you so much, bro.
No worries.
There we go. So, agnostic. So you've got software. Software can run on Windows. It could run on any operating system. Linux. It can run on Safari. It can run on iOS. Okay? It can run on Mac operating system, right? Software can run on a server, and the operating systems that run on servers, I don't know about servers, so I don't know about those. Like Windows Server, let's say, the operating system. Apparently Windows got, obviously, a server operating system. Like, imagine a freaking server that's powering a whole company with running Windows. Guys, trust me, people don't run Windows Server on their servers. If they have any brains, they run Linux or Unix. So, mashallah. How you doing? You wanna wait for YouTube? Go Jays. Go get him, kid. Thank God for your dad, alright? So I love good daddy. See, happy kid. Loved kid. Kids just need love, guys. There's this beautiful thing in Islam where you get God points for basically for
what is this? For stroking a kid on the head. And there's a beautiful saying. There's a beautiful saying of our sixth Imam, peace be upon him. Our sixth Imam is the great-great-grandson of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his family. He said that when you're with children, be as a child. People are like shouting at their kids, young man, didn't I, blah, blah, blah. And the poor thing just wants love. It just wants your love. That's all it wants. I mean, like, you talk about love. I don't talk about love. The Quran doesn't talk much about love in terms of the romantic love, right? There is no such thing in Islam as far as I have been able to verify. Somebody famously said that the Quran dismisses love by not mentioning it. Now God uses different words. There's about 4 or 5 words for love in Arabic. Like I said, if you're spiritual, if you live a good life, Ja'ala Rahmanu lahum wudda. God gives you love. So what happens is you begin to love on people, and you feel love, and you love animals, you love, like, everything becomes love. Like you have compassion, you feel for the next guy, right? It's what makes you human. Animals, you know, it's questionable whether or not they feel love. They probably do, I would say, I think. But in any case, I don't want to digress. Software can be platform specific, or software can be platform agnostic. So when I sold software for Computer Associates or Oracle or any one of these up-and-coming software companies, I've worked for like 3 award-winning software companies, Deloitte and Touche, Fast 50 companies. Deloitte and Touche is this, oh my God, hey Hadi, you want to wave for YouTube? You're so gorgeous. Oh, give me a smile or a wave. You're on YouTube, you might as well. Tall and telling, young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema goes walking, and when she passes, each one she passes goes, ah. She was just too much, eh? You'd be like, that's not very religious. Says who? I get one look in Islam. The first look is yours. First look is yours. Second look is against you. And the third look leads to your destruction. So, guys, when I sold software, we'd go in, and one of our standard lines would be, it's software agnostic. Like, it's platform agnostic. Like, we can run on Windows, we can run on Linux, we can run on Unix, we can run on, like, I forget all these weird, AIX is a freaking server operating system, right? And so, like, you might have 32-bit, in the world of Windows, 32-bit, or you might have 64-bit. And so, like, it's when you want to download Service Patch or whatever, a service pack for your Windows, right? You got to download the correct one for the specific platform, which might be Windows Vista, Windows 10, Windows 7, Windows NT. Guys, platform agnostic simply means that the whole question of platforms doesn't apply to our software. It's not saying that, it basically, in a sense, it's inclusive in this sense, but in the pure sense of the word agnostic, agnostic means that the question at hand does not pertain to me. So agnostic could apply to 2 things. Agnostic could apply to the question of, is there a God, right? And so you might say, well, I'm not worried about this question anymore. Okay? I mean, once again, at the end of the day, that doesn't make you not spiritual. It just means that you are not interested in external labels. I mean, external labels are not important. Internal is the whole thing. What's going on in your heart is the whole thing. Are you a real person is the whole thing. So once again, you could be atheist. Now the problem with the word and the concept of atheism is as follows. Atheists themselves will say, the true hardcore atheists will say, we are not a religion and we're not a group of people. We're just people who don't submit to any of these false beliefs, supposedly false beliefs of world religions, and the belief in God. Okay, so religious, so basically, if you're a diligent atheist and you are the real deal truth seeker, essentially you will, as I do, as I have done and as I continue to do, you will investigate all religions. So I've read the Bhagavad Gita, Tibetan Book of the Dead, Tao Te Ching, Book of Five Swords, Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. Okay, I've got more copies of the Bible at home than I do the Quran. And whenever I want to reference something in the Bible, I'll go to BibleGateway.com. If someone invites me to a religious function, like just literally 3 or 4 days ago, like on Saturday, like today is Thursday the 2nd of June. And on Saturday, this last Saturday, it might have been the 31st of May or Saturday and Sunday, in fact, there's a beautiful Buddhist temple next to where I live, and I bike by it all the time, and I've been wanting to visit it. And of course, God is great. It just so happens the one weekend in the year that they open it, they have this thing called Open Doors Toronto. You gotta love the city. It's such a great city with so much going on. And they really do a lot here in Canada in general to engage the general public. It's a very proletarian kind of feel. Like in the States, like if you go to Seattle, for example, Seattle, from my perspective, is way more beautiful. Seattle in Washington State, obviously, on the West Coast. Seattle is way more beautiful than not Toronto, but Vancouver. People talk about Vancouver being beautiful. Vancouver, like North Vancouver, is beautiful, and downtown. But the suburbs of Vancouver are just run-of-the-mill suburbs. The only beautiful thing about them is that you can see mountain. Nice bike, man. You can see mountains in the background. So. There's plenty of water in Vancouver and forests, but you have to actually get in your car or bike out there or make a trip or something like that. Whereas in Seattle, the whole place it seems to me like 2 or 3 like distinct masses of land with bridges and trails and all this kind of stuff. However, problem with Seattle is that it's not that you're landlocked, but all of the trails and all of the waterfront, the majority of it, 80% of it, is occupied by residences and businesses. It's all about the money, because obviously waterfront property is prime real estate. And so in Canada, on the other hand, if you come to Toronto, there's literally miles and miles and tens and scores of miles. Like, you can go all the way from one end of the GTA to the next on the water, and there's trails practically. And I mean, there's some buildings in between, and they try to make it so that the average person can remain. It's the city is designed to facilitate the enjoyment and the lifestyle and whatnot of the average person. The city is not just for rich people to enjoy. Like in Seattle, you've got obviously Bill Gates with 2 adjacent properties in Redmond on the water, right? And his remote control house and all this kind of nonsense. In any case, Toronto's amazing, and they have this beautiful concept. Every year it comes around every weekend. I guess it would be the last weekend of May practically. I mean, that's what it was this weekend, this time around. Open Doors Toronto. So essentially a lot of the like buildings and libraries and hospitals and organizations, private and public and non-profit, they open their doors and they basically give you guided tours of the place. Like the new TTC, Toronto Transit Commission, our transit system, they have this huge new facility on Leslie Street or Leslie Road or Leslie Avenue, whatever the hell it is. And it's huge and it's very interesting. Like people like me are really into that kind of stuff, and you can go there and you can go inside and walk around and they'll show you like behind the scenes what's going on. And it's a very cool concept. And so there's a lot like that in Toronto, a lot of functions and free events and concerts and open air, and you know, summer's here and they're going to be showing movies every week at Yonge and Dundas Square. Ramones, man, that's the shit, yo. He's like, I know it is. So, anyway, so, yeah, the Buddhist temple opened their doors and I went in and I borrowed a book from their library and I talked to them in depth about Buddhism, and I spent like, on my weekend, I spent 3 or 4 hours in this place, it seems to me. And I got a good handle of things. I mean, so I'm more qualified than the regular person by far to talk about Buddhism. So seriously, I've read up on Buddhism. I've read Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. Hello. I know about the fourfold path. I know about the 8 noble truths and the cessation of suffering, equanimity, compassion to all sentient beings, all this kind of stuff. And all of it, like the spiritual stuff, I love. And I've learned a lot from Buddhism. Like we have this beautiful saying of Imam Ali's, peace be upon him, that a believer takes knowledge from wherever he can, because knowledge is the lost treasure of a believer. And it's only in a believer that that knowledge is assimilated correctly. And knowledge, guys, is the key. Knowledge is way better than wealth, Imam Ali said, peace be upon him. Knowledge takes care of you. Knowledge takes care of you. Those cars are so freaking freaky. Every time I see one of them, I'm reminded of a horror movie or something like that. Knowledge takes care of you, whereas you have to take care of wealth. Knowledge, the more you spend, the more it grows. Wealth, the more you spend, the less it gets. And, you know, knowledge is forever. Wealth is transitory, to the extent that knowledge not only is forever, knowledge immortalizes the person. Descartes, Isaac Newton, Einstein, Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, Pythagoras, Epicurus, Herodotus, even people like Napoleon, Che Guevara, they were people of knowledge. They read day and night. Abraham Lincoln read day and night. I mean, that's really the thing. If you want to be successful in life, guys, they say leaders are readers. If you make it a habit of just reading 50 minutes a day before going to bed, let's say, you will essentially be able to read a book a month. A book a month. And if you do this in 5 years, on a specific subject, in 5 years you'll be a world-renowned expert on that subject, just by reading 15 minutes a day. Reading 15 minutes a day will change your life. It's impossible to read and not be transformed. It's really that simple. And guys, if, like me and you, I'm sure, if you're busy and caught up in like day-to-day crap of, hey, I got my bills to pay, I got to go grocery shopping and all this kind of nonsense, then audiobooks. I got like Napoleon Bonaparte's like preeminent biography. I forget the gentleman's name who wrote it, on my audio on my iPhone. And I'm listening to that. I got like 3 books in my backpack. 3. Not to mention my laptop. Guys, get addicted. Get addicted to seeking knowledge. Get addicted to reading. Force yourself to read. Pick up a book and flip the page. Just flip the page. Just, if you can't read and you can't concentrate, force yourself to read the words and then flip the page. So force yourself to read the words, flip the page, okay? And find things that are interesting to you. Anything. Get Overdrive. It's a beautiful software application for your smartphone, and it's plugged into all of the major libraries in the world, okay? Get Overdrive for your phone, and you can download business manuals, self-help manuals, economy, literature, art, anything you want. They got Dostoevsky, they got James Patterson, they got whatever, dude. Like, it's like people who say, well, Netflix doesn't have great movies. Or rather, people are brainwashed by Hollywood. Netflix doesn't have good movies because they don't have the latest Spider-Man. Are you kidding me? They got all the early Spider-Mans, or at least a couple of them. They got X-Men, they got Avengers, they got TV shows, they got all kinds of stuff. They used to have Akira Kurosawa, Francois Truffaut, like avant-garde freaking directors from throughout the ages. They've had David Lynch and Eraserhead on Netflix. My point is, get into stuff, guys. Find things that you're passionate about and devote your time to those things, because when you're involved in things that you're passionate in, and when you're zoning into these things, that's when you're living life. This ego-based chatter in your mind, this yap, 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 yap voice that's going on all day. There's a saying of Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him and his family. There's a saying of Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him and his family. He said, Satan flows through the veins of the son of Adam like blood. It's a very intense saying. And it refers to this chatter, this ego-based chatter. It's incessant. And it seeks to make you depressed and negative and fearful and angry and jealous and petty and selfish and narrow-minded and all these fucking things. And you know it, because there's another you. According to the Quran and according to Sigmund Freud, there are 3 yous. Sigmund Freud calls them the id, the ego, and the superego. In the Quran we have nafse amara, the evil selves, nafse lawama, which is like the good angel telling you, why are you doing this? Lawama means blaming, the blaming or admonishing self. Like, so there's the part of you that does bad, and then there's the other part of you that censures or rebukes that part of you that does bad, right? So you've got these 2 selves, and then the outcome of that is nafse mutma'inna, which is the enlightened self, the contented self, the blissed out self. Guys, it's about spirituality. The problem with atheism is that you cannot disprove God, okay? And there are proofs. Don't say there's no evidence for God when you're living and breathing in this amazing world, which is part of this amazing universe. Don't say that there's no signs, whereas everything in the world, including, most importantly, yourself, you're the greatest sign of God. Look inside of yourself. Please understand where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to preach that you should be a Muslim. I'll throw in Islamic stuff from time to time, A, to show you that Muslims are not all that bad, and B, because I've learned the quintessential principles of spirituality through Islam, and I'd like to share that with you. If you're a Buddhist, I'd love to hear from you. If you're an atheist, I'd love to hear from you. Here's the problem with atheism. We say God cannot be disproved. Then you guys will say, well, the onus is on you to prove him. Okay, so we will say things like, why are you honest? Why do you believe in love and beauty and all these things? They can't be quantified as either. You'll say, well, you know, a person in love exhibits chemical reactions. Yes, those are chemical reactions. Those are indications. They're not love itself. Love itself cannot be measured. Honesty, for example, if you're selfish and your genes are selfish, then there's no reason for you to be honest. You should probably be dishonest. And you, if your genes are selfish, then why are you altruistic and self-sacrificing? I mean, the whole thing is a muddle. It's just stuff that people have agreed on, and atheists can be as bigoted and narrow-minded as religious people, right? If you come down on me and start swearing, like, you know, the same video where I had one guy, Sashrikar. Allah ka shukr, aap sunai. Jazakallah, mashallah. Aap jaise log chahiye, sir. Aap jaise log chahiye aur. What a nice man, eh? Assalamu alaikum. So, agnostic, once again, could be spiritual. But what it means is, this question of God/religion, external labels, it doesn't apply to me. I'm not Satanist, I'm not religious, I'm not non-religious. That was really bizarre. Like a cop went by waving at me. Like people, like when you see you with a camera, it's like they, it has a really profound effect, eh? Like, because everyone knows the power of obviously cameras and the media, I guess. Anyway, I'm at 35 minutes. I want to wrap this up here. Make sure you visit my blog, zaidiboy.blogspot.ca, my professional website. I am obviously a professional consultant. salesandmarketingforyou.com, separated by hyphens. And agnostic simply means this question doesn't pertain to me. I don't discount the possibility of God. I may even believe in God. I don't believe in religion, for sure. That's pretty much what that is. And anyway, so atheists, the problem with it is this. We'll say, well, you can't disprove God, and then they'll say, well, you can't disprove unicorns. And they're actually right. And I'm not being facetious. You cannot disprove unicorns. There may be a part of the world or some time where unicorns existed. There may be whole worlds out there. According to Islamic thinking, or what we've been taught by our holy imams, peace be upon them all, from the family of Prophet Muhammad, who us Shias follow, is that there are 18,000 worlds out there with sentient beings. 18,000. Now, the first verse of the Quran is Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Praise and glory and whatever is to be admired, the credit of it is due to God. So, problem with atheism is that atheists are, unfortunately, the non-spiritual, or what I call the materialist atheists, are just like religious bigots, right? They come down on you with their supposed science, and they make fun of you, and they're sarcastic. Yes, they're highly intelligent. They are highly intelligent, way more intelligent than average religious person, I would have to say. You know, there's many different discussions that branch out as to why, why are there so many religions? The Quran simply says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jal says that, you want to wait for YouTube? It's alright, you can wait for YouTube, you little, wait. Oh, mama's boy, eh? That's good. I don't mind it. Alright, anyway. So, agnostic. This question doesn't pertain to me. You might say I may or may not believe in God, but really, ultimately, problem with atheism is that the way they talk about it's really agnostic. If you say we're just people who don't subscribe to any beliefs, it's like the question of beliefs doesn't correspond to our way of thinking. We don't think about that. It's like me and my software. I don't think about Windows, AIX, because my technical guys are taking care of the programmers, the dev team. They've taken care of all that. The developers have created platform-specific installations. Therefore, me as a sales guy, the whole question of platform is, it doesn't matter. This software, you'd say this software is platform agnostic, okay? Same way with atheism. You'd say, well, I've looked into all these religions, and to me, I found things in each religion that I consider basically ridiculous or inadmissible or what have you. Like in Islam, the big one obviously is Sharia law. Hey, it's scary business. Cutting off heads and fingers and whipping people and all this stuff. You know, the concept of hell is enough to throw people off religion. How can a loving God create hell? There's answers to all these questions, guys. And I'm an intelligent guy, and you shouldn't think that people living in, and this is another thing about atheism that I don't like. Like, I love Sam Harris. I respect and admire the guy. He'd probably hate me if he met me in real life. I'm waiting for that day. But he has this nice phrase he uses that we're basing our life and world on the worldview of people for whom a wheelbarrow was emergent technology. So, like, if you look at you know, circa 0 AD, for instance, in Christianity or whatever, you know, wheelbarrow would have been like, whoa, right? That doesn't mean those people were stupid, though. Whoa, because Socrates, the father of modern science, not just philosophy, you know, he lived like 2,000-3,000 years ago. I don't know exactly. And Plato and all these people, like Pythagoras and like the Sumerians and the Mayans and the Incas and the Aztecs, and they did amazing things, like even like the Quran says. They did more things than, they accomplished more than what you've been able to do. We've got our skyscrapers and stuff. Are these skyscrapers going to be around in 1,000 or 2,000 years? Okay, let's say one of these buildings does last 2,000 years. Well, the pyramids, guys, they didn't have steel or none of that shit. They didn't have cranes. They didn't have cement. Are you kidding me? And you think they're stupid people? Okay, so go read Socrates. Go, if you think that people of bygone eras were all idiots, you're the actual idiot. That's the whole problem with materialism. It's so focused on material advances and science and all this kind of stuff. Obviously, it's amazing that we've built buildings and we've got cars and all this kind of nonsense. However, the real life is the spiritual life and the intellectual life. I don't see Dostoevsky's nowadays, right? Where are our Walt Whitmans and our Thoreaus, eh? How come we don't have any more Gandhis and Isaac Newtons and Einsteins anymore, right? You'll say, well, there's lots of amazing people around, and there's so many that it kind of like they get lost in the crowd. Don't be stupid. I don't really think so at all, right? I mean, you have a situation where in the past you'd have like 5 master musicians in Russia or 5 classical architects and painters, and they were known as the group of 5, etc. Like geniuses of insurmountable talent, and who still blow people away to this day. Like, okay, here's the acid test. If there are so many geniuses about, how much stuff do you run into? Like, we're all content junkies, eh? Like, I'm creating content here, and we all consume content, YouTube and Facebook and all this kind of stuff. We're just consuming content. How much content do you find nowadays that really even gets you to stop and go, wow? Guys, you gotta search hard to find something meaningful. I don't care how many geniuses you think there are. If there were that many geniuses, how come when you Google art and you look up artists today, you won't find, you know, guys like Picasso or Michelangelo or even Leonardo, or like, you know what I'm trying to say? So, okay, I mean, you can keep going in any argument forever, right? And therefore, my final closing comment is that typical atheist is simply a skeptic. Don't call yourself an atheist. Either you're agnostic or you're a skeptic. Skeptic is someone who basically questions everything and says you shouldn't believe in anything. That's a position. It may or may not be a valid position. I don't know. I mean, I don't agree with it, but whatever, right? On the other hand, if you say that anything is possible, however, I'm not bought into anything as of yet, that's agnostic. Or if you say that I'm choosing to avoid these things because I've done my due diligence already, at the end of the day, this whole thing is a moot discussion. Mary, October, Tango, moot, meaning it's irrelevant. Because if you're an atheist or if you're a Buddhist, you could be a Satan worshiper. Like, I was watching a documentary about one of my favorite bands, Morbid Angel. Guys, Glenn Benton from Deicide, and Dave Vincent and Trey Azagthoth from Morbid Angel, and John Tardy, and Donald Tardy and John West or whatever from Obituary, Barney Greenway from Napalm Death, Jeff Walker, okay, and Bill Steer from Carcass. Some of the most brutal, satanic, so-called anti-society, evil bands out there. The people behind these bands, most amazing, nice, intelligent, thoughtful, altruistic, giving, compassionate people ever. And they don't sing about death and destruction at all. It's like punk. Like, death metal is basically modern day punk. When punk erupted on the scene in the wake of obviously Elvis and all this nonsense and progressive rock and all this nonsense, it was basically an FU to society at large, okay? So punk bands like Sid Vicious and the Sex Pistols, all they were trying to do was say, F you. I'm not into your music or your rules or anything like that. Hey, Carcass has a song called Polarized. And they're like, I'm not into your faith, I'm not into your love, I'm not into your hate, I don't like what you like, I don't love what you love, I don't... Because what it is ultimately trying to break away from social conditioning. Social conditioning is the real enemy. Social conditioning is the external enemy, and this internal voice in your effing head is the internal enemy. That's what you should be worried about. You shouldn't be worried about labels, guys. So if you got something from this, I'd love to hear from you. I'm not a bad guy, and I'm not anti-atheist, and I'm not anti-Satan worshipper, and I'm not pro-Muslim. Because you got people like ISIS, and you got people like King Fahad, right? Anyway, over and out for now. Zaidi boy, and hopefully see you when we see you. Come visit beautiful Toronto.